Hello and good evening to all the mothers watching us on Unimo Universe of Moms. I hope you see me live and my video is clear, my audio is clear. Give me a thumbs up so that I understand and that everything is going okay and we can start this live. So I'll wait for some of you to join in and give me some thumbs ups. Okay, so I got a green flag here that we are live. Good evening, everybody. I'm Neha Karekanabar, the founder of Unimo Universe of Moms. And here I am, where I want to talk to you about a sensitive yet a very critical issue that affects many children of all ages, which is bullying. How to deal with bullying among children of all ages, that's a big question mark we have. I remember a quote by Patty Murray when he says, bullying is a serious problem with long-lasting effects that can last well into adulthood. Bullying affects both the victim and the bully, and the negative impact can be profound and also long-lasting. So how to tackle this? And to answer all your questions around bullying, I have got experts from Billabong High International School join me today. And not just today, in this entire month of March and April, Unimo will be bringing in experts from Billabong High International School every week, every Thursday to present thoughtful parenting session for all the mothers. So do not forget to tune in every Thursday sharp at 4:30. So let me first start by introducing this wonderful school, which is Billabong High International School. The school was founded 15 years ago, and today it's one of the leading K-12 schools in the country. One of the main aspects of its philosophy is that it teaches students how to think and not what to think. Hence, it is also known as the School of Thought. And now I introduce you to our guest this evening. First, I have with me my favorite, Natasha Mehta, Miss. Welcome, Natasha, ma'am.
Hi, thank you, Neha.
Welcome, ma'am. And before I introduce you, I know that a lot of our mothers are excited to see you here. Dr. Natasha Mehta, of course, is a favorite educator among all of our community mothers. And I know there are a lot of threads about her being so popular. She's also been a principal with my kids. So I know her leadership has been really, really super impressive. She's a head of school development for Lighthouse Learning in the current scenario, with over 30 years of experience as an educator and also school leader. She's a prolific author of 52 science books for learners across national and international boards. Dr. Mehta is a strong advocate for nurturing children's versatility and also providing them with ample opportunities to learn and grow. So warm welcome once again. Next I have with me is Advait Kapileshwari, our next guest from BHIS. Hi, Advait.
Hi, Neha.
How are you, Advait? How are
I'm
you doing?
good. Thank you.
Okay. So, Advait, I think you have a very impressive bio, guys. Advait Kapileshwari is a seasoned psychology teacher with 10 plus years of experience teaching undergraduate and postgraduate students, as well as a 2+ years of experience teaching A-level students specifically. Since 2010, he has also been practicing sports psychology and has helped numerous athletes achieve their full potential. Wow. In addition to teaching in sports psychology, Advait is also a skilled counselor and has provided guidance to school and college students on a range of issues. So warm welcome, Advait, and let's begin our conversations for this evening.
Thank you, Neha.
So mothers, I'm sure you all are excited. We all saw a lot of your questions on our pre-bus poster and saw that you all are very interested to know more about how to deal with bullying, and especially when you all have different age group of children. So today, don't worry, even if you have a little toddler there or a grown-up teen, we'll have answers for all those questions. We'll also have a mother join us in the later half of this live to share her problem around this specific topic. First question, what is in my mind right now for, Natasha Miss is around, the warning signs that Natasha ma'am, at times parents like us do not even know that our child is going through bullying. If you can just throw a little light on what exactly are the warning signs that the child may be experiencing bullying, or either how can parents recognize these signs?
Yes, thank you, Neha. I feel that, for children of all ages, this is a very exciting time because there's so many opportunities But at the same time, these are very stressful times because of all the kind of messaging that they receive from multiple sources. Now, bullying can come in different forms. We've historically understood bullying as physical bullying, but there is emotional bullying, there's bullying in the form of social exclusion, there's mental bullying, and now, of course, there's cyberbullying as well. As parents, no matter what the age of a child is, whether it's 4 years old or 14 years old, we need to be very alert about this. And each one of these shows up in different forms if we are careful at home. Physical bullying is very easy to sort of, the signs are very easy to see. If your child is coming home from school or any other place, he's gone out to play with his friends in the society or otherwise, and comes home and you see that continuously he's coming up with bruises or some sort of injury, which happens recurrently. Now, it could be that the child is getting injured, the child is falling, but if it happens multiple times, then as parents, we need to be alert and try to dig deeper and see what is the cause. I mean, either there is a medical problem that the child keeps falling again and again, or the child is being hurt by others. So that's one big one, but it's also the easiest to figure out. But then there are other things that can stem largely from the school. For example, if your child is continuously losing objects in school, notebooks getting missed, stationery, getting lost, pens, pencils, or textbooks getting lost, the water bottle gets lost. Again, there are two things. Either the child is extremely careless, which is rare, or it could be a sign of bullying that there are children in the school who are taking away his objects and his or her objects in order to hit out at that child. That's one very, very important sort of sign that we also see in schools. The other thing is behavioral changes. The child who's otherwise healthy all of a sudden starts complaining about headaches multiple number of times, stomach aches that just sort of happens every 3-4 days, or somebody who's been very happy and eager to go to school all of a sudden starts saying that I want to go to school, I'm unwell. Somebody who's got decent or good grades all of a sudden loses interest in studies. His or her grades drop. These are all signs that something is bothering the child. Children generally sleep, a healthy child will sleep well. If you sense that the child is not sleeping well, is not able to sleep, is getting nightmares, or sleeping too much, again, this is a change in behavior, which could signal some kind of mental, emotional distress. Again, something which needs to be dug deeper into. One very important one, which as parents and sometimes as educators, we come to find the last of all is social exclusion. And we see that in schools happening more and more, and extremely important is a child who is not being invited to birthday parties of his classmates, or children in the class that formed a group and let's say are going for an outing, a movie over the weekend, and this particular child is again and again not being invited. This is social exclusion, and it is bullying. So all of these signs, the earlier we understand that these could signal issues, the earlier we could do something to, to sort of tackle these and remedy the problem.
Okay. Oh, that was quite insightful, ma'am. And I think quite many red flags you have, told us about. Advait, do you want to add on something on this specific question?
Not much, but basically we see that the child will start experiencing more of anxiety. This anxiety might be related to school activities, might be related to other areas also. For example, even when the child goes out, let's say, to play with the friends or the peer group, the child might generally experience more anxiety because of the kind of experiences that they have. So there is an increase in the anxiety level. Generally, the child seems very disturbed. And all this basically stems from the negative experiences of bullying that they are having.
So they might even refuse going out for these experiences.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, quite insightful. I'll move to my next question, and Advait, if you can take it up, and Natasha, ma'am, whenever you feel deemed fit, you can just add on to your points also. Advait, how can parents talk to their child about bullying? Like, what's the right age? What's the right way? And what are some effective strategies for starting this, conversation?
Yes, so if we look at starting the discussion, it can start as a usual conversation only with the child. But now, since we are talking about a sensible issue such as bullying, it is always advisable that the parent does some kind of preparation or at least some homework before bringing up the topic. Now, this might simply mean, let's say, understanding what is bullying, what is the nature of bullying, then what are the effects of bullying, why children get bullied, then what happens to a child that is being bullied. So simply understanding these things and then explaining to the child what is the nature of it. Secondly, also understanding why it is necessary to talk to the child about bullying, then further preparing oneself for some of the counter questions, some of the maybe points that are raised by the child. So it can start with a simple preparation also. Now, while discussing the topic of bullying with the child, the parent can make sure that the discussion is quite inclusive. Now, when we say inclusive, we simply mean use appropriate language, which will be more appropriate for all the genders, all the age groups. So usually we say that boys are bullies. But it's not necessary that always boys are going to bully others. There can be girls also who are into bullying. So make sure that the language is appropriate for girls as well as boys. Also help the child understand that bullying can happen at all the stages of life so that the child is more prepared. More importantly, when they include examples, they can perhaps include examples of some of the celebrities, such as, let's say, Jackie Chan was bullied as a child, but later on he overcame that experience and the negative feelings. So it is also necessary for the parent to convey to the child that bullying is not always a negative thing only, something positive can come out of it. So there are people who have become better because of their negative experiences. So this also can be conveyed. Now, in addition to that, when they're introducing the topic, they can make sure that the topic becomes quite broad. So it is not only related to bullying, it can also be related to, let's say, general well-being, could be related to interpersonal relationships, general development of the child. So try to make the topic more broader. Now, further, don't think that it can be only discussed in one single occasion. So today I sit with the child and explain everything about bullying to the child. Look for different opportunities. Maybe one day you're watching a movie, you want to talk about bullying. So you saw something about bullying in that movie, raise that topic and accordingly start discussing. So that way parents can make sure that they discuss the topic of bullying with the child. Now, talking about some of the strategies, techniques that can be used in order to understand what kind of a strategy can be used. The parent, first of all, has to understand what is the preferred understanding style or learning style of the child. So let's say if you have a child who is mainly a visual learner, or the child prefers to understand things through visual modes. So the parent can use some of the visual cues, such as maybe movies, certain videos, and through that also they can explain. If the child is an auditory understander, or let's say auditory listener, then the parents can use some of the anecdotes, certain stories, and accordingly introduce the topic to them. So these could become some of the strategies. We might have some parents who already have experienced bullying themselves. So in such cases, they can inject themselves, their experiences into the discussion and can make that discussion even more healthier.
Yeah, I think the last point what you said always works, because as a parent to twin boys, I've always seen that whenever I've shared my life experience, the boys have opened up more easily. So I think I totally relate to that. Natasha, miss, my next question is to you. Some children are more vulnerable to bullying. What are the kind of children who are like most likely to be bullied? Are there certain traits they have? Are there certain types of kids like that?
Yeah, so I think most importantly, bullies have a habit of, irrespective of age, and we see that in adults as well. Bullies will hit out at weaker people or who they perceive as weaker. So children who have low self-esteem and do not come across as very confident children, very self-assured, they are the ones who the bullies will hit out at and try to trouble again and again. So they are more susceptible to bullying. Also, we've seen in schools that children who get bullied generally do not have a good friend circle, or in some cases, they do not even have one single friend. So when they're being bullied or somebody is trying to, verbally hurt them or hitting out at them, there is nobody to stand up for them. So children who do not have very good social skills, children who are not able to make friends easily, are also susceptible to a lot of bullying. Sometimes children who do not fit into a regular image of what we say is a persona, the way a body looks. Children who what especially in teenagers, where how they look becomes really very, very important. How good am I looking? Am I thin enough and all that? So those can also be targeted. Those kind of children can also be targeted. Also, interestingly, sometimes children who are achievers, like the class topper, they can be seen as nerds. That this child is exceptional in studying, but nothing else. Interestingly, children who do very well in sports, you will see are okay. Nobody will bully children who are good at sports. So these are very interesting personality traits that one can identify for children who are being bullied and children who are actually bullying them.
Yeah, I think I'll again quote my experience, because both my twin boys are very good at academics and they're very focused when it comes to, they enjoy their studies, and at times they compromise on their social outings just because they want to study, and they have got this kind of labels from their friends when they chose to study over that activity. So I think somewhere, of course, it's a little, it can be a little satire or a sarcasm, which cannot be labeled as bullying, but eventually, if not stopped, it can lead to that as well. So I agree with you, ma'am. Very, very, very interesting insight. Natasha, miss, my next question is also directed to you, but Advait, whenever you feel like you can definitely answer. Natasha, miss, how can parents help their children build, resilience and also coping skills? Like, how can we help our kids handle these bullying situations? Especially when we want to have like healthy boundaries, and also looking at creating some assertiveness skills in our kids, such that they're better equipped. Like every time we cannot be by their side to fight their wars, and it shouldn't be like that, I'm sure. So how can we make sure that they are better equipped to stand up for themselves and also for others, if might be?
Right. That's actually a great question. See, the thing is that the whole issue of having low self-esteem, which was one of the critical sort of areas why children get bullied. So I think I can categorize it largely into two areas: having poor self-esteem and having weak social skills. These are one of the biggest reasons for getting bullied. If we could very early with our children, excluding whether they're going to be bullied or not bullied, build these skills in our children at a very young age, they stand a better chance of not being bullied in school ever, in whatever way. As parents, we, generally, especially in India, we have this habit of, we see ourselves as very exalted personalities. I'm the parent, and this is my child, and the child has to listen to me. We will not take a no easily. And we do not allow the children to sort of argue with us or have a different point of opinion. All these things, this behavior gets extended into the school. So I think it's really important that we build these, these attitudes, assertiveness skills at home. So if allow your child to disagree, but respectfully. I'm sure we all understand the boundary, the difference between being assertive and being aggressive. That is what needs to be taught at home. And how does that happen? Model that behavior, between parents, father and mother. Let the children see that when you disagree, but you listen to the other person's opinion. Do that with your child also. Allow the child to say no to you, but then ask them why they are saying no. So basically what you are teaching the child is that saying no is okay. I can disagree with somebody else. I can disagree with somebody who I see as somebody who's supposedly more powerful than me. I can be assertive, but I need to be respectful about it. I think also create a good support system. Ensure that your child has friends. Ensure that very early they engage with other children. Ensure that the child feels good about themselves. So be encouraging. Every child will not excel at everything. Whatever it takes for the child to feel confident about themselves, feel raise their self-esteem. So basically, if we can do things that makes them feel good about themselves, so when they go out and somebody says something which is hurtful, it doesn't get deep-rooted, and they know how to push it back. And also stand up for themselves. I think these things are very important, and they can only come from home.
Wow. In fact, ma'am, I have a background of corporate training, and I've always developed a module for all the corporate employees on how to learn to say a no. And I think here, as parents, we should also learn to accept a no. And that was quite insightful. And I think we need an entire session on this specific subject, because that needs a lot of, conversation. Moving on to the next question. Yeah, Advait, please. You want to add?
One thing I wanted to add to this.
Sure.
So if we look at the whole thing from a bully's point of view, I would say that a bully is always looking for a soft target. So as ma'am correctly said, somebody that has a low self-esteem, doesn't have very good social skills, like say communication skills. So bully is always looking for such a soft target. Now, perhaps what we can help our children learn is how not to respond to these things. Like more you react, more bullying will take place. For example, let's say bully is trying to bully someone, but the other child is not at all responding to it. Then at some point of time, the bully will have to stop. So if the person doesn't present that soft target, then bully has nothing to do there.
Yeah, I think as adults, we've also not learned how not to react. So I think it'll take time for our kids also to learn that. But I think that's a great point, Advait. And Advait, my next question is also directed to you. What are some potential reasons why a child chooses to bully others? Like, you told me something about a bully's perspective also, that they might be looking out for a target like that. But what makes them do what they're doing?
Okay, now interestingly, when ma'am said that a person who is getting bullied will generally have low self-esteem, poor social skills. If we look at people who are into bullying, we will understand that even these children will usually have low self-esteem. They will have very high level of insecurities. Their social skills, or let's say coping skills, they are also very poor. Now, usually when they get into bullying or when they try to dominate others, show their aggression, it is just one way of expressing their frustration and anger with the things. For example, some child who is not able to cope up, let's say, with academic pressure and not able to handle that pressure will generally express that frustration through things such as bullying, maybe. Now, additionally, there can be certain instances at home also. For example, the child himself or herself is getting bullied either in school or maybe at home also. Like there is some kind of abuse happening at home. So even this frustration might be removed through acts of bullying. At times, there can be certain instances where the child is simply trying to gain attention from other people. And in order to gain this attention, they engage into acts of bullying. Now, if you look at some of the recent research has also shown that exposure to aggressive and violent media, for example, certain games or let's say social media also, even that can increase instances of bullying. Lastly, if you look at some of the other factors, we might understand that there could be certain underlying personality factors. For example, child that has certain antisocial tendencies, doesn't have any regard for others' rights or their life. These kind of children are more likely to get into bullying. So these could be some of the factors. But again, we have to understand that these are not just the causes. These are the factors. So they work in a combination. They can't say somebody was maybe ignored at home or was bullied at home or in school. They will definitely become a bully later on. That is not the case that we are looking at.
Yeah, quite interesting. I think, we have to look at it as a holistic approach and not just in silos. Natasha, Miss, when Advait talks about potential reasons of children getting bullied, as parents, because we are talking to a community of mothers and, a lot of mothers are watching us right now, how can parents help the child address these underlying issues when from becoming bullies, or if they are the parent of the, bully?
Yeah, I think extending from what Advait said, both ways, it is in most cases, it is the low self-esteem that's coming into play. So if we can raise the self-esteem of the child in different ways that we just spoke about, the child does not need to harm anybody else or hurt anybody else to feel good about himself or herself. That is one very important thing. But also, right from when they are very young, we need to teach children about being kind, teaching empathy, being sensitive. And with young children, what works best is stories. So stories which could be read through books. There are movies which talk about kindness, which talk about being sensitive. As parents, our own behavior, showing empathy, not raising a voice, not talking ill about anybody else. So once a child has become a bully, we'll try to correct his or her, personality. That's a tough one. It can be done, but then also it will harm that child also, because you will have to, establish the fact that he or she is harming somebody else. But in order to prevent that is by ensuring that our children feel good about themselves. Again, like you also said, like you are, Neha, giving a lot of examples, saying that when I was a child, and these could be hypothetical situations also, I saw that somebody in the class, in my class, was being bullied, or people would throw away his pencils or her pencils. But I also saw another child who would get up and say, please do not do this. It hurts him. He feels bad. And I really admired this child who had the courage to stand up for somebody else who could not. So stories are really powerful in building good behavior, and we have to start really, really young. We cannot say that I'm going to start talking about kindness and empathy when the child is 12 years or 14 years. No age is young enough. As young as 2 years, 3 years, because that's the time they will absorb it the most. So we were just recently we read about this quote from Jackie Chan, who said that he was bullied a lot in school. And he did not know how to stand up. But one day in his own school, he saw somebody else being bullied. And something triggered, and he stood up for that child and pushed back the bully. And then all of a sudden, it empowered him. And he realized that this was doable. If I could stand up for somebody else, I can do it for myself as well. So start early, build empathy, build kindness, use stories, use movies. We have so much access to resources now, model behavior ourselves, and look for personal stories. I think all of that should really help. And sometimes, just one last bit, if it is a very severe case, when we see that it's very difficult for me to, sort of accept that my child is bullying. But if that becomes a severe case, I think then it's time to reach out to a counselor. It does help, and it can turn around the behavior.
Definitely. Advait, your points on
Yes.
this one.
So that's one of the very, very important points. So once we observe that the child is getting into bullying, then we should definitely not hesitate to report it to a therapist or a counselor, because that is the kind of help that the child requires then. In addition to that, since we have understood that a bully is likely to have a low self-esteem, low self-efficacy, generally their coping mechanisms or coping skills are very poor, we can work towards developing these coping skills also. For example, let's say exposing them to development of certain new skills, maybe through art, drama, sports. Even that will help them build certain skills.
But Advait, sorry to just barge in and take you one step before your answer. As parents, if we are the parents of a bully, then how do we, like you identified red flags for kids who are getting bullied? What about kids who are the bullies? Like at times they'll not come home and tell us that they bullied someone, and they don't even know that they are bullying someone. So how as parents can we understand that, our kid can be one of them?
Now that will be identified through some of the complaints that the parent receives. Complaints from, let's say, the school authority, from kids around them, from neighbors. So that's the only way. Kid is never going to come home and say that, yes, I'm bullying so and so kid. That's not going to happen. But once you come to know that the child...
I'm also saying that acceptance, whenever these complaints are pouring in, you have to understand and be aware and be mindful that it might, lead the kid to become a bully.
Yes, first accepting, and secondly, not encouraging it further, quite obviously. Like there are occasions when parents are also like, oh, wow, very nice. So you are doing this. So somehow we have to try and avoid those kind of behaviors also. But once you understand that the child is into bullying, then what are the kind of things that we can do? One, as ma'am correctly mentioned, is seek help from a therapist or a counselor. That is definitely going to help. Apart from that, look for maybe resources that will help the child build certain coping skills. So instead of resorting to something like bullying, the child can perhaps use their skills only to cope up with the pressure that they experience at school. For example, it could be academic pressure also. The child might use certain other skills. For example, might develop better concentration, might focus more on the problem solving and simply using the emotional aspect. So that is the kind of approach that even parents can use. Try to develop and build certain skills and competencies.
Yeah, and Neha, if I can just take a few seconds to, I think sometimes, because these are all said and done, these are young children, and at the heat of the moment, they are hurting somebody, but I don't think they sort of realize the long-lasting impact of their actions. They do not realize that this could lead to depression, anxiety, all kinds of issues. They're very young. So I think one other thing that we could do is sit the child down as a parent or even somebody in the school and make them aware of the long-term implications of their actions. And sometimes that will also work if they understand, oh my God, I did not think this is harming my classmates so badly. That is one of the things that could work.
Yeah, I think of course it will. Natasha, Miss, my next question is also directed to you. When you talked about this underlying issue and also the parents of bullying, what are some strategies that parents can use to support a child if they are being bullied? I also want you to include how to report the bullying to school administration.
Right. So very important to begin with, always have right from when they start going to school, spend some time with them and keep an open channel of communication. The children should be confident that you're going to listen to them. That's really critical. Listen to them with an open mind. Do not pronounce judgment. My child comes and tells me, this child screamed at me or hit me, and you say, okay, you must have done something. The child will never speak to us again. So just sometimes just listen and try to understand. And if the child says something like this 2 or 3 times, raise it with the school. As somebody who's worked in schools for a very long time, I always said to the parents, do not wait. And no issue is a small issue. Raise it with the school. It might turn out to be nothing, but if it was something, we cannot wait for it to escalate into something that creates greater harm. So I think these 2 things are very important. Again, like I said earlier, build social skills. Tell the child if you are in trouble, report it to an authority in the school. Talk to your class teacher. Do not wait. Sometimes children feel if I say something, I will be left out. My friends will think badly about me. We need to teach them that you cannot let anybody harm you, and you need to raise this with an adult. As you're talking to me at home, please raise this with your teacher or somebody who you trust in the school. But the earlier, the better. I think it's really critical. And also help your children to form good friendships. Be familiar with the friends in the school. Have social get-togethers where you invite other children into your home. So you're sort of, building a nice a social security system, if I can call it that, around your child, so that if the child is being bullied, there is somebody there to support the child.
Yeah, I think that always works. And basically, because we are talking about school, Advait, I want to know from you, what are the measures or initiatives taken by BHIS to prevent and curb, bullying at an early stage? Because we are all talking about the early stage right now.
Right. So at BHIS, first of all, we have an anti-bullying policy in place. So we make sure that all the children, their behavior is closely monitored also. And we have a completely zero tolerance policy for bullying. Secondly, regularly, periodically, our counselors, even teachers at times, conduct certain workshops to sensitize students towards bullying. So to help them understand what is bullying, how it might be, say, causing some trouble or problem to other children, their lives. So in order to sensitize children, we regularly conduct workshops. In addition to that, we not only conduct workshops for children, we also conduct workshops for the staff members, where we help them understand, or we develop certain skills in the staff members to identify what could be the signs of bullying, or if some child is getting bullied, then what might be happening, what could be the signs of that also. So these are some of the measures which we are taking at BHIS schools regularly.
That's amazing, and I'm sure a lot of school authorities are sitting on our community also, and I just want to appeal to all of them to have this kind of measures in their school as well, because this is the need of the hour. Natasha, miss my question, in fact my last question, and there are a lot of questions which is coming from mothers to us, so I'll try and include those. And mothers who are commenting, thank you for all your lovely comments. Keep them coming. You can put down your questions in the comments. I'll try and pick up one or two of them. But Natasha, miss, my last question to you is, how can parents work with schools to address these bullies or bullying in a broader sense rather, and support the schools also in this kind of initiatives? I feel BHIS is doing something super wonderful, but are the parents also working with you guys? Like how's it happening at the school, and what do you suggest?
I think the first question all of us need to ask us of ourselves is, does my child's school have an anti-bullying policy? Please go and ask the school, do you have an anti-bullying policy? What does the policy say? What kind of bullying does it address? And what is the strategy? How does it get actioned? Do you have a mechanism in place? If my child is getting bullied, who can he reach out to? Do you host sessions for your teachers? Do you host sessions for? Is there visible evidence of the anti-bullying policy? Do we say somewhere on the board? Is there a poster that says no bullying in this school? Reach out to this teacher if you feel you are being bullied. So look for visible evidence of an anti-bullying policy and mechanism in the school. Again, help the school to spread the message that bullying is not acceptable. Most schools will have a bullying and anti-bullying policy, but sometimes it does not reach the parents. It stays with the teachers largely. Sometimes even the children do not know about this. Again, ensure that the school talks to the children, takes session with the children saying that we are there. This is the policy. These are the sanctions. Bullying is just not allowed and it is not accepted in our school. Again, if somebody, let's say I'm in a group of, in a class where there are 30 kids in my child's class, and one parent consistently complaining that my child is being bullied by another one. Many a times we will not support that parent because we will just stand by as bystanders and say, "Mere bachche ko to nahi bola. Jab mere bachche ko bolenge tab dekhenge." It is very important to create that support system and ensure that, if the parents, sometimes parents are very reluctant to approach the school, go along with that parent and talk to the school. These are tiny things, but trust me, they are really important, because it is really important that we are seen as a single community, whether it's teachers, whether it's school, whether it's parents, whether it is children. And the more support we give to each other, the more easily we'll be able to sort of prevent these things.
In fact, ma'am, we've got a lot of messages come in to us during this live, and which is very overwhelming. And I think repeatedly, Advait, there's one comment which is coming in from different mothers in Hindi, English, and all the languages. I'll read it out for Hindi also. Vibha Kumari is writing to me, मेरा बेटा तो मेरे साथ कुछ डिस्कस भी नहीं करता और काफी बार उसका बिहेवियर भी बहुत अजीब हो जाता है. कैसे पता करूं कि उसके साथ स्कूल में क्या हो रहा है? And even a lot of mothers are writing that many moms are asking continuously, what if the child doesn't tell us or do not communicate with us?
See, for that, first of all, the parent has to build that conversation. So they can perhaps start slowly and gradually start taking interest into the activities that the child does. For example, if the child is into, let's say, art, take some interest into that. Start asking some small basic questions. How is it going? What is happening? And then start building upon that. Now, that is how they can start communicating, conversing with the child. Now, once that starts, they can further start asking what is happening in school, and all those things also can be done. Perhaps if the child feels more comfortable, feels that connection, the child himself or herself will come to them and start discussing other things as well. But then that becomes one very important thing, an issue. the communication between the parent and the child.
And in fact,
Not-
Advait, I think it's also related to the age the kid is in right now. If the kid is pretty young, I think still the molding phase is on. Is it something related to that as
yes,
well?
that is also true. So as the child grows, they mainly want to see a friend in their parent. So if the child is not ready to open up, not ready to talk to the parent, somewhere they are not finding that friend in the parent. So the parent will have to now become a friend instead of just becoming a mother or a father. Try becoming a friend.
Can I say something here, Neha?
Please, miss. Please,
Yeah.
miss.
We've been saying this again and again through the last 30-40 minutes कि बच्चों से बातचीत करनी बहुत जरूरी है, and we cannot wait कि अभी वो 14 years का हो गया, is he getting bullied, is she not getting bullied? That is one thing, but besides getting bullied, children will have other issues in their lives, especially at teenagers, that level, when they step into their teens. Like I said, always have an open channel of communication when they're 2 years old, 3 years old, and you can only condition this when we start early. If my child learns to talk to me when they're 3 years, 4 years old, trust me, they will continue to talk to me. But if I do not think that their conversations are important when they're 4 or 6 years old, they will not think it's important to trust me when they're 14 and 15. So we cannot emphasize enough upon the importance of having an open, non-judgmental, channel of communication. It is the most important thing.
Yeah, of course it is. But I'll also have my bit there as a parent, that I've seen that at times a lot of children are not that open to their parents, but there'll be someone in the house who they speak to. There can be an uncle or an aunt or a masi who's very close to them. So maybe you can make them a channel if talking to them directly is a difficulty. And ma'am, we have someone with us today. As I started the conversation, we have a real mom joining us in the studios today, and she has experienced bullying with her 11-year-old in the society she lives in, and she's joining her here with I'll just plug her in. Namrata, if you can, okay, so she's here. Hi, Namrata, welcome, and thank you for being a part of this conversation. I think very, very relevant conversation and a very relevant example you have to talk to us about. Can you please highlight your issue?
Yeah, so Neha, good evening, everyone. So, ma'am, sir, my son has an heredity. We have an issue of baldness in the family. So when my son was born, we were given heads up by the doctors that eventually Arjun, that's my son, is going to start losing hair. His father lost hair while he was in school. And his grandfather, much later, his uncle, eventually it's going to happen with him. What was suggested to us is try keeping his hair, as closer to the scalp. So from the beginning, when he started his first haircut, we always used to keep army cut for him so that that feeling of suddenly losing hair does not come. The first time I realized that my son is being bullied is when I took him for a haircut and he said, Mama, today I do not want to cut my hair very short. So I asked him why, because that was the only haircut he was aware about. He said, Sab log mujhe ganja bolte hain. And that was the first sign, which I was taken aback. And I told him that's fine. The same evening, usually I don't go down when my son goes to play, but I I went down that day for a walk, and that was true. Now, every time that he went for a haircut, it was the same story. I am a mom who, wants to make my child very strong, and already since everybody in the family knows this is a very genuine problem, we've always, spoken about it very openly. Sir, ma'am, there are just two concerns. One thing is my son did not have low self-esteem, but gradually, I see him going into his shell to the extent that he stopped going down to play with the fear of being called names. And, the second thing is when somebody calls him ganja or something and he cries, so the next thing is, tu ladki ke jaise ro raha hai. That is the next thing that happens. Secondly, there's a change in behavior that I see, that he cannot protect himself. But if somebody else is being shouted at or hit, he goes there and, stands for them, which is a very contradictory behavior from where he cannot stand for himself, but he can stand for others. So my question to you is, what do you think is aiding this behavior? One, that why can't my son stand up for himself, but is so strong to stand up for others? And secondly, we've tried talking, we've tried, prepping him that this is going to happen in the future. Still, I feel it's not working. So, maybe some pointers wherein you can assist me as a parent, where that, we can bring about a change in the way we talk or we behave with him.
Man,
Would you like to say something first? Yeah.
how old is Arjun? Arjun is his name, right?
Yes, Arjun is 11 now.
11 years old. So see, he's still in the phase of developing that self-image right now. So he's trying to understand himself also. And in that particular process, he has somehow associated his self-worth with his appearance right now. So how I look, that determines how worthy or how good I am. So somewhere we have to convey to him that his self-worth is definitely not related to his image or his appearance. It is mainly related to the kind of person and values that he has. For example, let's say if he knows about something, if he has certain skills, if he's good at something, so the kind of skills that he has, that determines his worth. Now, this will start improving his self-esteem further.
Right.
Now, secondly, you were saying that when he sees that somebody else is shouted at, he can go and stand for that person. But if the same thing is happening with him, he cannot.
Yes.
Now, what I see is somewhere maybe he hasn't developed that sense of agency as well. Now, by this, I mean to say that he hasn't understood that there are certain things which are definitely not in his control. For example, somebody else calling him names, commenting on his appearance, that is not in his control. So he's still in that process where he's getting affected by the comments of others. So as a
Right.
parent, if you communicate, talk to him regularly, maybe you can help him channelize his attention only on things that are within his control. For example, what he can do, what he can think about. So make sure that he focuses or at least learns to focus on things which are within his control, right?
If I can add to that, Namrata, I'm sure you can identify some, skill, ability in your child. Like, does he really like to play sports? Does he like to play a musical instrument? If you could identify any one thing, maybe to begin with something that he can do on his own, like, like a piano or a guitar or drums or whatever, and give him good training on that, make him exceptional in that, but he must enjoy it. So you have to do this together, help him to identify something that he wants to do, so that he gets a lot of positive reinforcement, a lot of gratification from that one area. वो उसको अंदर से मजबूत बनाएगा, because we, like Advait also said, we cannot control the behavior of children or even adult behavior around us. The stronger he feels, the nicer he feels about himself, the better equipped he will be as he grows older. It's a very, very difficult situation, and it's really amazing that you are sharing it on this platform. But I'm sure it will help so many other people who might be grappling with the same thing. But if you could identify any one thing like that, and work with him on that, so that he's so good that others also say कि Arjun to drums बहुत अच्छा बजाता है, Arjun karate में बहुत अच्छा है. He will also then start getting good, hearing nice things about himself from others also, not just within the family. I would also suggest that reach out to the school. The school must know, I don't know if they're aware or not that this is happening. The counselors can take sensitization sessions. In fact, they should be doing so.
This is a residence area policy downstairs when he goes to the playground. It's a building problem. Yeah, building.
Right.
It's not in the school, ma'am, because I think, I've not seen it in his school, because I think there is a fear of teachers around. So that experience has not come from school, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's come more from the building friends, and honestly, that is the only me time children get, right, after school. That they go
right.
Ma'am, I just would like to highlight that Arjun is very good at singing, and he's taking vocational training. He's performed at a lot of platforms. So that suggestion that you gave me was something that I'd applied already. But like I said, he's not underconfident. When he sings on a platform, you would never know. But it's just that, because he's interacting with these children every day, and this is his circle. These are his friends. Right? I think it's a work in progress.
I know, but also maybe you've already done it. Try speaking with the mothers of the children. Like we've been saying, empathy, sensitization. Maybe that will also, it will definitely help if parents can talk to the other children.
Sure. Yeah.
Have you tried stories with him?
Sorry.
Stories. Have you tried stories with him, like telling him certain stories of maybe other people?
Yes. In fact, I always give him my example that while growing up, I was a fat kid. But when we were growing up, our friends calling us Moti and all was like very, I don't think we were that sensitive. I think this generation has become emotionally a little more sensitive, is what I feel. I might be wrong, but I think they take things personally very fast, whereas we were like, okay, to be called names, or maybe we were not touching upon these topics back then, ma'am. Sir, we were not touching
In
upon
fact,
these topics.
Advait, what Namrata just added, there's a mother who has written a question which I was about to ask you. I think you can connect it back to Namrata as well as Neetu. Neetu's asked, what is the difference between bullying and natural conflicts between peers? Like,
And
how do
between
we
bullying
identify
and
that?
what
Yeah.
is it? Bullying
Natural conflicts between peers. Yeah,
and natural
friends.
conflicts between
Yeah.
peers.
So I think what she
So
means is just the candid, how Namrata is saying that Moti never, she was never averse to that kind of labeling because she thought it's all fun. It's all friends. So how do we identify that,
see, for the
it's-
difference, we'll look at it from the bully's point of view. So when a child is bullying another child or maybe another person, there is an intention to hurt or harm the other person, either physically or mentally, that is emotionally. But when you have those natural conflicts, there may not be any kind of an intention to hurt the other person. So it is just a conflict that you're experiencing, a difference in the opinion, you can say. So both the parties, both the children want their rights to be fulfilled or want their maybe demands to be fulfilled. So that can be considered as a natural conflict. But in case of bullying, there is that necessary intention to hurt the other one.
So is it
And also, sorry,
yeah.
it will
Sorry.
not be repeated. Same behavior. If it is just conflict, you will not see a repetition of the same again and again and again. But if it is bullying, then there is a pattern. So that's one major thing that will
So I
help.
really like
So once
that
the
perspective
conflict,
where Advait is saying that, you have to look at it from the bully's perspective and not the child who's getting bullied. Because at times, if the child is super sensitive, he or she might get offended by even a single, label or a comment, or even a behavior which is not repeated, but still will make a lot of impact. So Advait, should we not look at it from the other side, like more?
in order to understand the difference, we will look at what both these things mean. So like in case of a natural conflict, even if the conflict, say if the conflict is resolved, now there will not be any further, let's say, the
Repetition.
negativity towards the other person or perhaps the repetition, yes, correctly. But in case of bullying, that may not happen. So it's going to be a persistent, a continuous behavior.
And maybe the same kid is going through the same thing. So even the bully
It
and the
is target,
kid is
yes.
getting bullied as same. Oh, that's wonderful. I think we are running on time. So I'll just take one last question and we can close this because this is a very sensitive question. Ma'am, Advait, feel free to, just jump in and answer this one. Purvi is asking a question, which is, I think, very sensitive. She's saying, what do you do if you fear your child may harm himself or herself because of these bullying?
Reach out to a counselor immediately, a therapist, a psychologist. I have seen this happening at very, very close quarters. The second you realize, sense that something like this is going to happen, as parents, we are not empowered, sort of trained to handle such a situation. Immediately reach out for help, and it is okay, and it works.
Yeah, I think this can be the only solution what you have just highlighted, ma'am. And
Yeah.
I think we all have to be open to go to counselors and experts when we have, issues like this. Even at an early stage, I think you can go and talk to a school counselor maybe, or, a
Yes.
counselor in your vicinity, because I think reaching out for help is always a great idea.
Even talk to the teachers for that matter. Like, see, the teachers have observed something. So if the parent is observing, there is a good possibility that even teachers might have observed. Now, this kind of anxiety can also stem from the parent's anxiety or the parent's fear. There may not be any real evidence suggesting that the child is perhaps likely to harm himself or herself. It could be the parent's anxiety also, maybe protectiveness. First of all, ask the teacher, talk to the teachers and perhaps the counselor in school. And if you really feel that, yes, the child is getting into such acts, such behaviors, definitely report it to the therapist and the counselor. Then do not wait further.
Thank you, Advait. Thank you, Natasha, ma'am. What an interactive, discussion and very insightful. I think it was a very practical, hands-on tips and tricks what you guys have shared with us. I think we can just go back home and check for these red flags. Go back and implement these ideas what you guys have given us. Very, very insightful. And I would also like to extend my thank you to BHIS for curating this experience with Unimo. In fact, I'm based out of Juhu, and I've come to know about this news, which is quite interesting, that Billabong High International School, Juhu, has won multiple awards for its outstanding teaching and learning practices and also inclusive education. And they've also recently awarded for the excellence in international curriculum practices. So congratulations, BHIS. And we are so glad that you are bringing in these kind of relevant discussions to our forum of mothers. And I hope, mothers, you are also, finding these discussions very pertinent and want to come back to this discussion on Thursday, as every Thursday at 4:30, we bring you these amazing experts from BHIS for thoughtful parenting. So thank you, Natasha ma'am. Thank you, Advait. Thank you for your time. And it was such a beautiful discussion. I think we exceeded our time by 10 to 15 minutes, but I think it was very, very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Advait. Thank you to all the viewers who are watching us right now. I hope you found this live very, very useful, because I was making my notes when I was, listening to these eminent guests. So do share this live in your network to make sure that it reaches the right person who needs this live today and right now. So on that note, thank you, parents. Thank you for watching this live, and stay safe, stay healthy, and see you on the next Thursday at 4:30. Thank you.